Rev up your engines!
Well, you better watch out. As of September, there's a new driving law in all 50 United States. You can get jail time and $1,500 fines if you get caught. And what is it? Well, what happens in September? Kids go back to school. Yes, it has to do with people speeding in school zones. Now, they've been trying to stop people from speeding in school zones forever, but statistics are showing that there are a bunch of preventable accidents that are near school zones. The problem is they got speed limits, 20 miles an hour. They always had them, but if they're not enforced, guess what? People are. If nobody's stopping them from speeding, they are going to speed. It's not just speeding at a school zone. It is passing school buses when the stop arm is out, right? Realize it's illegal to pass a school bus when it has the stop arms out. It doesn't matter where the school bus is. Here in Tennessee the other day, we were going to the eye doctor early in the morning. We saw a whole bunch of school buses, and they even have those flashing warning white lights on the top flashing, so you can't miss the school buses. Now, in most states, it's the same as running a red light. If you pass a school bus that's got a stop sign out, you're running a red light, and that's a pretty big fine. Big fines, license points, and you can even get jail time if you keep doing it. For those of us who are ignorant, don't learn anything. Now, for example, New York State, you can pay $400 for a first fine, but then up to $1,500 in jail time and your license suspension if you don't learn and you keep doing it. Now, according to a study in 2022 to 2023, U.S. school buses were illegally passed more than 43 million times. That's a lot, right? And I see it all the time. Same things. When an ambulance or fire truck's coming, you're supposed to pull over to the side. Some of these clowns, they don't even slow down. I've seen people actually speed up, and then they follow it. Oh, that's going fast. I'll follow that. They're breaking the law. So they finally coded it in law for the whole country. Don't pass those school buses and don't go speeding in school zones. Kids are running around there, and the buses, of course, go all over the place. You see the bus with the arm out, just wait. Have a little patience. Now, a customer came the other day with a Nissan Titan pickup truck, and he said, Scotty, how come they don't make them anymore? I love my Nissan Titan pickup truck. They're decent trucks. Big V8 engines. Now, they're gas hogs, but all cars with big V8 engines are gas hogs, especially trucks. They weigh a lot, right? The main problem is the company that made them is screwed up, Nissan, right? And they never sold enough of them. They never even came close to competing with any of these other companies. For example, in the first half of 2023, they sold 10,550 Nissan Titan V8 pickup trucks, right? In that same period of time, Toyota sold 125,185 Tundras, over 10 times as many. They didn't sell enough of them. They weren't terrible vehicles, but it's a screwed up company. For example, they had the Titan with the Cummins diesel engine. And those Cummins diesel engines were excellent engines, right? But they tried that for a couple of years, and then they gave up. The problem is a combination of many things, most of it being Nissan's a screwed up company, but they never modernized their design like Toyota, Ford, GM, Ram. They fighting designs and this and that and everything else, changing them every year. And Nissan just kept making trucks. They're reliable. I had customers with them. And like I say, the only thing they complained about was they got horrible gas mileage. So, there's nothing you can do about a big old V8 pickup truck. And they didn't really offer any other options. To me, I don't understand why the idiots didn't push their diesel out more. Because that Cummins diesel was a good engine. And it had a decent Allison transmission, too. So you had a Cummins engine. And you also had an Allison automatic transmission, which is pretty good, right? But it's just Nissan's such a screwed up company. They don't know what they're doing from one minute to the next. And they never competed wholeheartedly in the big truck market. Back in the day when they were making those little bitty hard body 4-cylinder Nissan trucks, people were buying the heck out of them. Little trucks, they'd run forever. They'd run as long as the Toyota little pickup trucks would. But somewhere Nissan went awry, and now they're reaping the rewards of their own stupidity. Well, I can't help but laugh at this. Volkswagen, screwing up again. Volkswagen now took a $6 billion hit due to Porsche's pullback from EVs. Realize, of course, Volkswagen owns Porsche. Porsche is part of the Volkswagen family, right? Volkswagen Group said it's going to take a $6 billion hit due to the production overhaul at Porsche, because they're not going to be making the electric ones as much. And let's face the facts, electric cars and sports cars don't really go together. Guys want fun, convenience. They don't be sitting there charging the thing up, right? And it's bad enough if you have a regular Porsche, one of the most expensive to maintain and repair vehicles out there. Yes, now add electric on top of it, all electric cars, and you're going to have even more problems even trying to find someone who knows how to work on the thing, right? So, eating all that money on top of all the billions they lost on that Dieselgate thing, the company's been making a lot of mistakes recently. One of their big mistakes, they asked me, they bought companies that weren't even all that profitable. And they just, said, I believe they own Bugatti too. Let's buy some luxury cars too. What the heck? Throw it into the mix. They just thought they were the elephant in the room. They could do whatever they wanted. Well, guess what? The elephant is falling down and Volkswagen is floundering about now. Well, another sedan bites the dust. Subaru is pulling the plug on a vehicle that they have made for 36 years of continuous production in the United States. The last Subaru Legacy is rolled off the assembly line in Lafayette, Indiana. Now, they've been building these things for all those years. The first one was September 11th, 1989. And now, since everybody seems to want SUVs, they are not making the Legacy anymore. Now, if you know, their biggest seller that Subaru has is, of course, the Outback now. It's an SUV. Well, if you know a little about history, the Outback started out as pretty much a rebadged Legacy with little modifications, and then it split off on its own, and everybody wants to buy the SUV. So now, the Legacy is now just a Legacy because everybody wants SUVs. Everybody and their brother wants an SUV. And of course, as we all know, follow the bottom line, the money, the moolah. Companies are not in the business of making cars. They're in the business of making money. They make a lot more money with the SUV, so of course they're going to push that. Well, here's one you probably wouldn't have thought was going to happen, but what do they say? Politics makes strange bedfellows? Well, Hertz and Amazon are now working together. And like, what does a car rental company have to do with Amazon? Well, it has to do with this. Hertz rents their cars. You know what they do when they're done with them? They sell them. So now, Hertz Car Sales is joining up with Amazon to sell their used cars. Now, of course, if you look at it logically, it's just basically another sales outlet for Hertz used cars. Yeah, you're still going to go get the car from Hertz, right? You don't pick it up from Amazon. It's not coming in a box on the truck. Oh, here's your Hertz used car, box and truck. Let's unbox it. It'd be a big old box, right? That isn't going to happen. It's just that Amazon is becoming a sales platform for Hertz used cars, just like they have for Korean cars, right? You don't get your Korean car from Amazon delivered. You got to go to the dealer. It's just that they're using Amazon as another sales outlet. A lot of people say, oh, this is radical. It's not radical. It's just using Amazon as a sales rep. Because everybody knows Amazon, right? I don't know how well it's working so far, but of course Hertz will do anything. They were in bankruptcy and all the problems there with people. They're cheating us all with their little scanners, the AI scanners, so they send you a bill for damage on your car that may have already been there. Or in the case of some people, didn't even exist. It was a piece of dirt that the scanner read wrong and there wasn't anything wrong with the car. So, you know how it always goes. People are trying to make money anywhere they possibly can. And if they can use Amazon as another outlet to sell their stuff, they'll give it a wham. It doesn't cost them anything, right? I mean, they're not moving the cars anywhere. They're still sitting at the Hertz car lot. Well, here's an interesting story that I agree with 100%. A woman goes to Carvana, has a very bad experience, and what she says is, quote, you sell to Carvana. You do not buy from them. Okay, I agree with this woman wholeheartedly, and I've had customers do that. She bought a car from Carvana, then an hour later it almost kills her because the brakes are locking up, smoke's coming out of it. They find out that the wheels had been spray painted black and chrome to make them look better than they were because they were kind of worn out. I guess it was a northern car, so it had some rust and stuff on it, right? But I've been telling people that for years. Carvana does overpay for their used cars. I have had customers sell their cars to Carvana. And I said, they asked me a question, said, should I sell it? I said, what are they offering you? And they told me what they're offering. I said, sell it. That's more than the car's worth, really. Because I knew their car. I knew what shape it was in. That was one reason they were selling the car, was starting to have problems, right? So guess what happens? If you sell your clunker car to Carvana for a lot of money, somebody's going to buy that car for even more money. And why did you sell it? Because it had a problem in the first place. They have done some crazy things, according to other people on the internet. Buying a car from Carvana, as this woman found out, you do not buy from Carvana. You only sell to Carvana. And that is the truth from my experience and many of my customers' experiences too. Well, here's an interesting one that's probably going to affect all kinds of engineering stuff and computer science in the United States. The Indians are feeling the sting because Trump is slapping a $100,000 fee on H-1B visas. Now, if you don't know what an H-1B visa is, these are for United States employers so they can hire workers in what they call, quote, specialty occupations. Jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent in science, technology, and engineering. And interestingly enough, about 71% of the H-1B visa holders in the United States are Indian nationals. Think engineers, computer science, right? They're going to raise the fee to $100,000. The shares of Indian outsourcing firms like Infosys, HCL Technologies, and Tata Consulting Services, the stock's starting to go way down because now they can't send them over here as easily. And now, of course, people are saying, well, the U.S. IT firms are going to have to alter their staffing strategies. Now, of course, why are they getting these Indians in the first place? They're saying, oh, well, we need these people to have specialty. Yeah, bring them in. Like I always say, follow the bottom line. Because they'll work cheaper, okay? These engineers from India, they don't have insane college debt like American engineers do. They work cheaper. They will work for a lower wage, and that's why they're bringing them in. In this case, I agree wholeheartedly with Trump. Let American engineers do the job. You know, stop sourcing it out. It's bad enough that we buy everything from other countries, but do we need to buy engineers to pay them cheaper to make the stuff here? Hey, Americans want jobs. They're going to college. They have massive college debt that they got to pay off, which the Indian ones don't, of course. And then they'll work cheaper in the United States than the American ones can. They can afford to because they don't have this heavy debt, and they come from a country where the money people make here is an awful lot of money in India. I'm sure many of them send money back to India, just like many immigrants to the United States. They send money back to their home country to support their families, right? But this is at the demise of American engineers and computer software guys. Hey, the companies want to make more money. It all comes down to greed, right? Most problems ultimately come down to greed. You know, why are they doing this? Well, because it's cheaper to do that. What about the guy who used to have that job? We don't care. We just want to make them cheaper, that's all. So there's more profit for us, the owners of the companies, right? And an interesting thing is, if you didn't know it, all of these H-1B visas, an employer must petition for the visa on behalf of the foreign worker they want to hire. So they're basically headhunting over there for cheap engineers and software guys. I agree. There should be something to stop it. It only makes common sense for the good of American engineers, American software people. Well, interesting enough, the chemistry of steel is being rewritten at an industrial scale. They are using hydrogen reduction in electric arc furnaces to try to stop using blast furnaces. Blast furnaces use a tremendous amount of carbon stuff, using coal, blasting it, right? Now, there's a newer process that adopts hydrogen electric arc furnaces. So they become what they call carbon neutral. You know, this carbon neutral thing's kind of a fantasy, but now, traditionally you make steel with heating iron ore with coking coal in a blast furnace. The carbon in the coke reacts with the oxygen and strips the oxygen from the ore, but releases massive amounts of CO2, so they pollute like mad, right? But the hydrogen-based direct reduction process uses hydrogen gas and uses an electric heating system to melt it instead of giant old blast furnace, right? But of course, there's two big giant problems with this. There's actually three, but the two biggest ones are hydrogen is needed, massive amounts. Most hydrogen is dirty hydrogen. It's made from petrochemicals. So it's not going to be that clean until they get green hydrogen. If that ever happens, no one knows, right? Number two, electric arc furnaces use a tremendous amount of electricity, people. Where is this magic electricity going to come to if you're going to make all this steel, right? And the smaller one is the fact that This is the systems that's used for recycled steel, old steel, to melt it back down and put it back in. This is not making steel from scratch. These things are best for recycling scrap, and of course, there's only so much scrap steel. And as one engineer said, the global supply of scrap is nearly not enough to meet steel demand. The engineers say that primary steel production from, or even if you use green hydrogen, which doesn't exist yet, is going to be necessary to make the first virgin steel. So, again, we have this thing they're talking about green, but it's yet another fantasy. Where's the electricity going to come from? It's just like cars. There's not enough electricity if we all had electric cars. Well, imagine if all the steel's made from electricity, even more electricity, showing that the infrastructure needs to be built for electricity in this country and done correctly, not some fantasy. The wind's going to blow, the sun's going to shine. That's not going to work. We need tremendous amounts of energy, so they really need to work more on the nukes, which they seem to be doing. I saw the other day they're talking about in eastern Tennessee building the first fusion reactor, but that's so far in the future. They don't even have any that actually produce electricity commercially yet anyway, so who knows? They should fix up the old ones, which they're starting to do. But here's yet another example of they have an interesting idea. But if there isn't an infrastructure of both green hydrogen and cheap electricity and lots of it, this isn't going to work. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.